The wails of two small girls echoed in the air. Shrieky, panicky, heart-wrenching. Their mother had just pushed them onto the bed as she furiously jammed her clothes into a bag. Her face was contorted, not in grief, but in fury, like one set to fight the whole world. Her husband, Mr. Peter, stood there helplessly in the corner, trembling voice as he begged, "Linda, for goodness sake, the babies are crying. They need their mother." But Linda did not even glance in his direction. Her voice was sharp and cold, a knife slicing through his heart. "They are no longer my concern, Peter. I'm leaving you." She kept shoving her clothes into the bag, her hands moving furiously, without once turning to face him. "Please don't leave," Peter begged, his voice cracking. "If not for me, then at least for the sake of these innocent children God has blessed us with." At last, Linda spun around, her eyes blazing. "I did not marry you to suffer," she hissed. "Since you cannot offer me the life I deserve, I am done. Do not come looking for me." And then, with a twisted grin spreading across her lips, she said words so cruel that they seared into Peter's soul and would stay there forever. "Honestly, Peter, I don't even care whether those babies live or die." And with that, she snapped her bag shut and stormed out, slamming the door so loudly that the walls shuddered. There had once been peace in their home. There had once been laughter. But the day Peter lost his job, it all came to an end. Linda became bitter. She grumbled about everything. The tiny room they had to move into, the bland food on their plates. And although Peter begged her, although he still loved her, she would not hear. She did not notice the two fragile existences they had created in the world. Mary and Naomi, little more than 3 months old. Now, standing alone in the silence of his shattered home, Peter clasped his weeping daughters to his chest. His arms shook as he rocked them, speaking in a whisper past the lump in his throat. "I might not have wealth. I might not be able to provide you with the life you deserve. But I promise you, my babies, I will be the best dad in the world." His whimpers, his tears, the beat of his heart appeared to soothe them. Gradually, the babies settled, their cries softening into slumber. But the morning after brought hunger and despair. Peter awoke with no money, no food, and 2 babies wailing for milk. No time for self. Pity here. No one would do it for him. He had to move. With no job to rely on, he rented a wheelbarrow. Tethering his daughters to his chest, he walked to the market. He hauled heavy loads for strangers, his body covered with sweat. Some people watched in silence. Some pitied him, and a few dropped coins into his hands when they saw the babies. One elderly woman, her wrinkled face carved with concern, stopped him. She whispered gently, "You're doing a great job, my son." Then she slipped a 500 naira note into his hand. "This is for the babies." Peter bowed his head, his eyes stinging with tears. "Thank you, Ma," he whispered. Not everyone was as courteous. A woman loudly sneered at him as he went by, her voice tainted with venom. "Enjoyment master. While you were indulging in bed, you didn't remember responsibility. Now suffer alone." Her words had cut deep into him, but Peter kept his silence. He cared not what the world had to say. All he cared about was his daughters. That evening, tired and sore, Peter came back home. But his heart was at ease, since he had earned sufficient to purchase food for his girls. He visited a nearby pharmacy, informed the pharmacist of his situation, and implored him for assistance. The guy, touched by his desperation, gave him a list: baby formula, medication, and other essentials. Peter paid, his heart full of thankfulness. From that day on, his existence turned into an endless cycle of toil and sacrifice. Each day he strapped the twins to his chest, pushed his wheelbarrow, and labored until his back screamed. He did not have a mother to assist him, a sister to console him, but he did not complain. Actually, he experienced a weird sense of happiness, because despite everything, his daughters were alive, healthy, and smiling. Next, on a Monday morning, something occurred that would forever alter their lives. Peter was getting ready to leave when an old neighbor came to him. Mama Caroline, a lady everyone in the village knew. "Let me take the babies today," she said with a smile. "I'll keep them safe until you get back. The sun is too hot for such wee ones." Peter hesitated. His girls were his world, the only light he had left. Giving them to someone else would be giving away his very soul. But Mama Caro's eyes were warm, her voice steady. Finally, he nodded. All day, though his arms felt lighter without the babies secured to him, his heart was heavy with worry. But as he came back in the evening, he witnessed something he hadn't witnessed for weeks. Mary and Naomi laughing, their little faces beaming with happiness in Mama Caro's arms. Tears welled up in his eyes as he smiled. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice cracking with relief. Mama Caro became a part of their lives from then on. She fed them, bathed them, dressed them with love. To the twins, she became Mama too. They might not have gone to the best schools. They might not have lived in riches. But they had something far greater. They had a father who refused to give up, and a woman who cared for them as her own. Years passed, and Mr. Peter's determination never wavered. He worked tirelessly to ensure Mary and Naomi had everything they needed. School fees, books, and the values that truly mattered. He instructed them in kindness, respect, and the dignity of hard work. At the age of 18, the twins graduated from community secondary school. Mr. Peter was elated, his heart bursting with pride. The girls studied day and night for their wake and jam examination. When the results were announced, they left everyone agog. Mary scored a whopping 325, while Naomi scored a much better 341. Both of them got in to read medicine and surgery in the same university. That was when the real fight started. One sunny day, Mary and Naomi hurried home, their giggles ringing through the tiny house. They flung themselves into the arms of their father, handing him the printed result, slips with beaming smiles. Peter's eyes sparkled. His voice boomed with pride as he exclaimed, "Oh, my daughters, you've done it. You've made me proud beyond words. Now I can walk around this city with my shoulders. I, my daughters, will become doctors." He puffed out his chest like a conqueror of the world, and for that brief time the house was full of joy, laughter, and dreams. But that same evening, after the twins had gone to bed, Peter sneaked into his tiny room. His grin disappeared. He sat on the edge of his bed, quiet, shattered. His fingers shook as he muttered to himself. All these years of labor and sweat, and now, at the time of their triumph, I am unable to even afford one of them. Not one. Shame engulfed him like a tempest. He was choked, as if the walls were collapsing on him. Tears filled his eyes, but his jaw clenched, his fists curled. "No," he grumbled, muttering. "I will not let money shatter their future. My daughters will become doctors, even if it costs me my life." The next morning, before the twins awoke, Peter rose. But this time, he did not take his wheelbarrow. He knew the little barrow could no longer sustain the mountain ahead. He went to the house of a rich man in the neighborhood with heavy footsteps. The man, who was wearing pajamas, opened the door suspiciously. "What do you need at this time?" Peter kneeled. His voice cracked as he begged. "Sir, please, I beseech you. Take me in as your houseboy. I will wash your clothes, sweep your compound, prepare your food. I will work for you like a slave until my daughters finish school. Please, just assist me in paying their university tuition fees. Sir, please, my girls are the only things that bring me joy, my sole purpose in life." He pleaded with all the energy he could muster, but the man refused, his gaze frozen cold. "Two medical students, that is not a child's game. I will not do it." Peter stood up slowly, his heart plummeting into his chest. But he did not quit. That day he knocked door to door 5 rich households. 5 times he knelt on the ground and begged. 5 times he swore to work like a slave for his daughter's sake. And 5 times he was turned down. By the time he trudged back home, his spirit was broken. For 2 days he labored in silence, couldn't bring himself to inform Mary and Naomi that the dream they had worked so diligently for could never materialize. But one night, when the burden grew unbearable, he brought them to his bedroom. His voice was quiet, shaking. "My daughters, forgive me. I have failed you. When you were small, I swore to you that I would bring you to the ends of the world if that is what it would take, so that you can study. Now, however, I cannot even send you to the university." He attempted to suppress his tears, but his voice trembled. His chest rose and fell as he faced away from them, ashamed to have them witness him cry. Naomi stood up and lightly touched his arm. Her tone was gentle but firm. "Daddy, there is nothing to forgive. We know how much you love us. If you had the funds, you would have sent us to the moon." Mary stepped in, her eyes shining. "We may or may not go to university, Daddy. We will always love you." The twins hugged him, holding him tight as if their hold could protect him from the hardness of the world. That night, after the twins had fallen asleep, Peter knelt beside his bedside. His shoulders trembled, his voice cracking as he prayed. "God, help me, I have nothing, but you, Lord, you have everything. Please, give my daughters this chance. Don't let them suffer because of me." His sobs shook the room, his fists pounding against the ground, as if attempting to stir heaven itself. Mary and Naomi were not sleeping. They listened to every word. All their lives, their father had been their rock. They had never heard him weep, never heard him complain, even when things were unbearable. But that evening, his tears sliced through their souls like flames. They hid their faces in their pillows, crying silently, their hearts shattering for the man who had given up everything for them. These subsequent days were heavy with a silence, too heavy to be ignored. Sorrow was still present in their hearts, but Mary and Naomi did not let it get the best of them. They did not let their father succumb to despair. With courageous determination, they made a dramatic decision. They would postpone their university enrollment. It hurt, like seeing a dream disappear, but they had a plan. They wanted to work, earn some money, and come back stronger the following year to help their father. So, on one morning, the three of them set out together, knocking on door after door, looking frantically for work. Rejection after rejection was their fate. Employers rejected them. Some ridiculed them, some ignored them. But finally, a reputable restaurant welcomed them in. The twins began working right away. They greeted customers warmly, served food with elegance, and treated everyone nicely. Humility and charm won over hearts. Customers loved them, and munificent tips came their way. Objectively, not all interactions were nice. Some of the men, anticipating their desperation, attempted to take advantage of them. But Mary and Naomi held firm. They would never exchange their dignity for living. Any evening, they tallied up their modest pay and prayed with their father. And each evening, Mr. Peter knelt and prayed to God to bless the work of their hands. 7 months went by, 7 months of hard days, sore feet, ceaseless prayers, and dogged saving. And then, with faith and determination, Mary and Naomi opened their own restaurant. It wasn't large, but it was tidy, clean, and full of love. Their cuisine was wonderful, their welcome unbeatable. People didn't come for food. They came for the love the twins shared. Social media gave them a nudge, and word got around fast. Soon, their little restaurant was one of the hot topics in town. Business was booming. Mary and Naomi pinched every penny they could, their aspirations to become doctors still burning within them. But fate had other plans. Once, after a long, tiring day, Mary was wiping down the tables when her eyes landed on something out of place, a shiny black briefcase, abandoned on a chair. "Naomi," she exclaimed, holding it up. "Look! Someone must have forgotten this." The girls exchanged glances, curiosity tugging at them. Carefully, they opened the case and gasped. Inside were stacks of official-looking documents and a fat bundle of crisp American dollars. Naomi's eyes widened. This person must be incredibly wealthy. But without hesitation, they snapped the briefcase shut and carried it home. When Mr. Peter saw it, his eyes darkened with worry. He listened as the girls explained, then nodded slowly. You did the correct thing, my daughters. Do not worry. Whoever possesses this briefcase will certainly come back for it. Such a bag is too valuable to be lost. The very next day, they took it back to the restaurant. And there, waiting nervously beside a shiny black car, stood a formally dressed man. The instant he saw them, his voice was a demand. Did you happen to find a black briefcase? Yes, said Mary softly. She held it out with both hands. The man grabbed it, his face filled with relief. Thank you, he grunted before hastily driving off in his car without a further word. Naomi blinked, disbelieving. Not even $1 after all that? Mary, from today I'll start calling you Lady Dollars. The sisters burst into laughter, shaking their heads as they entered the restaurant to begin another busy day. But fate had a surprise waiting. At noon, under the blazing sun, the same black car returned. This time, the man stepped out calmly, a warm smile on his face. I'm Prince Tony, he introduced himself, and I owe the two of you more than I will ever be able to repay. For your honesty and loyalty, I would like to reward you. The girls looked at one another, hearts racing. Would this be the moment? Would he give them cash? But what he produced was considerably more than they had ever hoped for. He took them to an imposing, beautiful building. His eyes kindled as he presented them with a stack of papers. This is for you. The papers in that briefcase were more valuable than gold. You saved my family now. I want you to take this building as your restaurant. It is yours. Mary and Naomi stood there, unable to speak. They felt tears welling up in their eyes as they understood what was going on. The very thing they had dreamed of, struggled for years. Their hard work was suddenly within reach. With shaking voices they thanked him, and thanked him again. Their thanks gushing from the depths of their hearts, they hurried to get their father. At the market, they saw him, standing by his rusty wheelbarrow, taking a refreshing glass of kunu. Daddy, they exclaimed, running to him. They flung their arms around him in a tight hug, holding on to his shoulders. The onlookers around gazed in wonder at the lovely young ladies hugging the modest man. Mr. Peter, shocked, chuckled amidst the confusion. Sit, sit, he exclaimed cordially, beckoning them. Let me bring you some kunu. The three of them sat down together, drinking the cool drink, their hearts bound, never realizing that even more surprises lay in wait for them in the future. Their joy was overflowing. Finally, Naomi ended the silence. Daddy, we have a surprise for you. Mr. Peter's brows rose, interest brightening his weary face. A surprise. What is it? He smiled and asked. The twins didn't answer with words. Instead, they stood up and motioned for him to follow. His heart raced as he walked behind them, wondering what could possibly await him. When they finally reached the towering building, Naomi's voice rang with joy. Daddy, it's ours. This place. It belongs to us. The man who lost his briefcase. He gave it to us. For a moment. Mr. Peter stood frozen. His lips quivered, his eyes wide with shock. Then tears streamed down his cheeks uncontrollably. He clapped his hands over his face and wept, not for sorrow, but for unadulterated joy. The restaurant. A fresh start. A blessing for his daughter's integrity. It was all he could ever have wished for them. They rejoiced together right there on the sidewalk. Laughter, tears, and happiness filled the atmosphere as they stood before the building that was now their destiny. That night at home, Naomi and Mary sat with their dad. They could see the tension in his eyes, the burden of decades of sacrifice. Mary's tone was strong but soft. Daddy, you have to stop working that wheelbarrow. You are not a young man anymore. That labor is no longer for you. Naomi nodded in assent. You've given us everything, Daddy. Now it is our turn to give you the rest you need. Peter protested, opening his mouth to do so. But then he glanced at his daughters. At their resolve, their solidarity. The words were stifled on his lips. His heart was burdened, releasing, yet it also ached with pride. That day, Mr. Peter quit his decades of back-breaking work, and Prince Tony. He hadn't only left them the building, he had equipped it with tables, chairs, plates, pots, everything they required to thrive. Mary and Naomi made the space beautiful with love, putting all of their hearts into every aspect. Soon the restaurant was buzzing with life. The atmosphere was refined but warm. The food, delicious. And their sincerity, patience, and courtesy made customers part of the family. The restaurant wasn't a business enterprise. It was a sanctuary, proof that honesty, perseverance, and belief could transform agony into glory. More than anything, the twins made sure their father was treated as a king. No more would his exhausted hands push burdens under the scorching sun. Instead, he savored the fruit of their sacrifice, his heart content knowing that his ordeal had not been a waste. But Mary and Naomi never forgot those who had remained with them. They remembered Mama Caro, the lady who had taken care of them when their mother walked out. She was old now, her health deteriorating. So the twins remodeled her house, making it cozy and hospitable. They sent money for her hospital expenses every month. They provided for her in every way, treating her like their second mother. Then one day, fate brought a turn none of them would have imagined. A worn-out woman walked into the restaurant. Her hair was uncombed, her face etched with suffering. "What do you want?" one of the workers asked with interest. The woman's eyes reflected quiet desperation. "I am looking for a job," she spoke in a hushed tone. "I can wash dishes, clean floors, serve clients. Please, just give me a chance." The worker took her to Mary and Naomi. Although there was no vacancy with the twins, something about the woman touched their hearts. There was an unusual pull they could not define. "Okay," Naomi spoke gently. "Wash the dishes for now." The woman's lips trembled as she agreed. What Mary and Naomi did not realize was that the woman was Linda, their mother. Linda had abandoned her family to marry rich men, but each of the marriages dissolved, and she was left with nothing. Used and discarded, she was now where she had begun. Broken, desperate, with no place to go. The next day, Mr. Peter paid a visit to his daughters in the restaurant. They welcomed him with enthusiasm, but when he stepped into the kitchen, he came face to face with a face he believed he'd never see again. Linda, she had not yet seen him. Peter was petrified. His chest constricted, old wounds tearing open, pain, betrayal, and years of strife flooded back. His heart was heavy, his breath stuck in his throat. Slowly, soundlessly, he backed away before she could notice him. And in that instant, he knew his daughters' lives were soon going to be subjected to the ultimate test. Mr. Peter seated his daughters, his face serious, his voice laced with a subdued gravity. "Do you have a new dishwasher?" "Yes, Daddy," Mary said. "Do you happen to know her?" He questioned further. The twins looked on, confused. "No, why?" Naomi demanded. Her forehead furrowed, Peter's chest lifted and fell on a deep sigh. His voice was slow, measured. "That woman, she is Linda, your mother." The room came to a standstill. Naomi's eyes opened wide in shock. "Our mother?" "Yes," Peter said authoritatively. "She is your mother. When she left, I burned all of her photographs. I could not stand the memories. That is why you have never seen her face." The three of them got up and entered the kitchen. Linda saw Peter and turned white as chalk. She stood stock still, her lips trembling. Peter's voice broke through the stillness laden with years of unexpressed hurt. "The women who employed you, those are your daughters." Linda stumbled backward, her hands shaking. Tears welled up in her eyes. Her lips trembled as words poured out in stammering sobs. I am so sorry. I am so sorry, my daughters." Mary's face stiffened. A blaze of fire and fury raged in her eyes. Her voice cracked like lightning. "You must go." She grabbed a wad of money off the counter and pushed it towards Linda. "Take that. It is more than you've deserved. Go, just go. I don't know you. And you are not my mother. My mother is Mama Caro, not some woman who deserted us." Her voice cracked at the end words, but her fury still raged. Naomi, motionless, drew Mary into a tight hug. "I know you're hurting, Mary," she whispered, her own voice trembling. "I am too, but don't send her away. Not yet. She needs help." Mary's body shook with sobs. She turned to Linda, her voice erupting like fire. "This woman left us. She left us with nothing. She left Daddy to suffer and almost die while she chased her own life." She cried in the kitchen, open and harsh, the cry of years of bottled up tears overflowing. Linda fell to her knees, her voice a mere whisper. "I was young, foolish, selfish. Forgive me, please." That night Peter sat with his daughters once more. His eyes were tired, his heart burdened with silent grief. They struggled with their sorrow, their voices cracking, their hearts torn between justice and compassion. But ultimately, through tears and shaking, they forgave. Not because it was simple, but because they could no longer harbor the poison of hatred. The next morning, Mary and Naomi assigned Linda a more important task in the restaurant. They couldn't stand to have her hunched over greasy dishes, so they promoted her to matron of operations, a title of respect, one final opportunity to show her she could be the mother they never had. First, Linda fit right in. Her soothing voice comforted customers, and workers tolerated her. But cracks began to form gradually. Her soft voice turned acidic with sharp orders. She yelled at employees for minor errors. Her formerly kind face hardened with pride. The restaurant cooled, as if food sitting out too long in the sun. The staff became tight. Customers took notice. Gradually, like water seeping from a cracked pot, customers drifted away. One evening, Mary and Naomi sat their mother down, concern etched into their faces. "Mother," Naomi started carefully, "we have to talk. Your attitude is damaging the restaurant. We've worked so hard to establish this." Linda's eyes blazed with fury, her voice sliced like ice. "I am your mother. I gave birth to you. You have no right to tell me what I can and cannot do." Mary swallowed her rage, speaking firmly but in control. "You are here to assist us, but your attitude is destroying all that we've established." Linda's lips twisted, her voice dripping with venom. "And where is your father in all of this? The man you idolize, the one you pay money to like a king. He sits idle at home while you douse him with everything. And me, you treat me as a servant. All I receive is a salary." Mary's expression grew dark, her fists gripping at her side. Her voice shook with anger. Mary's voice cut through the hot air, hard and unyielding. "I'll have an issue with you if ever again you speak ill of my father." But Linda had yet to begin, her lip curled, her tone full of bitterness. "You don't like me. You are only taking care of me here." The conversation was whirling into a tempest of blame and justification. Words clashed with swords, neither of them willing to yield. By the end of it, Mary and Naomi were exhausted, their faces creased with fatigue. That evening, they approached their father, begging for guidance. Mr. Peter sat in silence, his hands clasped, his eyes weighed down by age and suffering. At last, he spoke. His voice was heavy with experience. "She is still your mother, but if you allow her to keep working in this restaurant, she will ruin all that you have worked for with your sweat and your tears." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Tears, much prayer, and long consideration followed before Mary and Naomi made their choice. The following day, they confronted Linda. "You will never work here in this restaurant again," Naomi declared, her voice shaking but firm. Linda acted fast, like fire consuming dry wood. "I know it's your useless father who poisoned your minds against me," she screamed, her face contorted with rage. The insult seared their hearts, but Mary and Naomi stood firm. They watched their mother storm away, her fury echoing long after her footsteps faded. Yet, even in their pain, they did not abandon her completely. In deference to the union of blood, they opened a small restaurant in front of her house, and she had an opportunity to make ends meet by herself. Mr. Peter, though in grief, had a hidden desire that he could one day reclaim Linda as his wife, but her heartlessness had pierced too deeply. His heart would no longer forgive. Perversely, without Linda's shadow, the restaurant flourished again. Air was less heavy, laughter came back, and customers occupied every nook and corner. News spread fast about the friendly service and great food. Business zoomed higher than ever. Mary and Naomi soon grew, branch after branch, city after city. Their empire expanded all over Nigeria. Their dream came true, but it wasn't about money. It was peace. It was freedom. It was the happiness of knowing their father could smile at last without fear. One night, the twins sat together. Naomi broke the silence first, the sound of her voice low but firm. "Mary, the flame to be a doctor no longer burns in me. I love this business. I love what we've created." Mary's smile shone warmly. Her eyes shone with pride. "This business, it is God's answer to our Father's prayers. I also do not dream about medicine anymore. I enjoy this. I enjoy us. I enjoy what we have built." Their spirits were buoyant. The mission had shifted, but the mission stayed the same: to serve, to construct, to heal, through food, through love, through family. Time went by. Suitors arrived, and before long, excitement buzzed through the air. The twins would be wed. To cement their bond, they had one date, one wedding, one day for a new beginning. But even in their happiness, there was a shadow: their father. Would he be alone forever? One afternoon, they sat him down. Mary started softly. "Father, we know you are glad for us, but we are concerned about you. Not every woman is like our mother. We think there are some good women left," Naomi went on, a smile full of optimism. "Daddy, we found someone. Her name's Madame Ruth. She works in one of our restaurants. She is kind, gracious. A widow with 2 children. If you marry her, her children will be our siblings. And with us, we will take care of them." For a very long time, Peter did not speak. Undefinidi's eyes were wet, his heart divided. Then slowly, he nodded. "I need time." 2 days later, he made his decision. He met Ruth. Undefini talked to her, undefined, and in her honesty, in her quiet strength, he realized what he had always desired all these years. Undefined, she was real. Undefined, she was good. Undefined, and she was capable of love. He said yes. The wedding day arrived. Undefined, and on that blessed morning, the church burst with joy. Bells were ringing. There was laughter in the air, and hearts soared in thankfulness. Mary, Naomi, and Mr. Peter. The 3 were married on the very same day. Mama Caro, the woman who had loved them, raised them, and guided them through the blackest of nights, stood at the epicenter of it all. She towered high as the pride of the day's mother, the very embodiment of love and togetherness. It was a day of tears and smiles, of beginnings and endings. Undefined, a day that closed their chapter not with tears, but with hope. A day that showed family isn't only blood. Undefined, family is love. Undefined, thanks for watching. May God richly bless you.